very hard decision for me. I had built up so much social capital, and that's something I was really, really concerned about. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. As you can tell from the title, today's video is going to be very, very interesting because people tend to enjoy when we talk about our careers and where we're going and what we like and we don't like in our paths and such. So because of that, I thought that it would be worthwhile for me to get on here and talk about why I left my previous job. This is definitely a video that I didn't want to just jump in and do immediately starting with my new job, just because I wanted to have some time to reflect on it and to be very thoughtful about what I'm communicating and not just, oh yeah, I felt this way, I felt that way, and relate as best as I can, just to be as informative as possible. So if you're watching my video for the first time, my name is Samantha. I am one half of Sisters-in-Law, as you can see, and I spent 2 years and 4 months and some change at my first big law firm, and now I am currently working at my second big law firm. I summered at my first firm in 2018, immediately started working there. It was the usual process. I started in 2019 in September and I left in January of 2022. And this is my 1 month anniversary at my new firm. I didn't take any time between the two. So literally finished at my first firm on a Friday and I started at the new firm on a Tuesday. This perspective on big law and this perspective on corporate law firms generally is not something you find on YouTube a lot. Obviously, everyone has their own reasons about why they left, why they didn't like big law, but I never stopped liking it. I've said numerous times on this channel that I enjoy it, I like what I do, and that never stopped. There was never a point in time where I felt like, oh my God, I absolutely need to leave this place, and I think because of that, this perspective is interesting or helpful or, you know, whatever, for anyone who's in this field or anyone who just generally wants to know about it. To give some background on my first law firm, I'll use Volt rankings as a means of metric just to talk about the two firms, not because I think that Volt is the end all be all or even think it's helpful. The first firm that I worked at was a Volt top 10 firm and arguably was one of the best private equity shops in the world. I say that because one, people were always surprised that I really liked it. And two, whenever I told someone that I was considering leaving, they were like, oh my God, you're gonna leave like that place? Which, you know, is expected. And the new firm, amazing private equity practice as well, and is a Volt top 40 firm. And like I said, I'm not using Volt rankings because of the fact that I think it's the end all be all. It's really just to give you a frame of reference on where I'm going. So like I went from here to wherever. If I had to give a blanket or general reason about why I left, I am pretty good at noticing patterns, or I guess in the current trends, noticing red flags as they're happening. And that's one of the reasons I believe I don't get to a point in my life where I'm extremely miserable before I make changes. I'll proactively make changes as they make me uncomfortable. And I will say that I kind of apply that here. I was entering my third year, I was being forward looking, and I was wondering if everything I was experiencing in the workplace was indicative of a place where I felt like I wanted to be long term. It doesn't even have to be forever, because like I always say, I take it year by year, but was this a place that I wanted to be for another 2 years and 4 months? And obviously the answer was no, and it was a very hard decision. My job finding process was very unique. I didn't use a recruiter, I didn't reach out to places, things like that. The place where I currently work was actually somewhere I was considering back in 2017, and I stayed in touch with some of those people. So when I started contemplating a move, I just circled back with a lot of those people. I had dinner with them, I talked to them, I asked them how their experience was going. And obviously if their practice was anything like the practice that I currently was in, they're gonna need bodies because private equity is currently going insane, and they did. And obviously that's why I took the job. So that's to give a bit of background. As I've said on this channel before, and Angel has said on this channel before, it's really, really, really important not to choose a big law firm or any other corporate firm. And I think this probably also rings true to like the Big Four or any other space like that, that you should not pick that space based on the people. Yes, it's important to have a general vibe of the people there, and that was one of the reasons I chose my law firm, but it is very, very important not to say, for example, Samantha works here, so I want to work there. Maybe if it's Samantha works here, Samantha has shared her experiences with me, and those are experiences that I also am seeking, then it's fine. Pick that person that's based on their experiences. But you shouldn't pick for individual people. That's not something I've done. However, I wanted to highlight it because there were tons of people that joined with me, after me, was there for like 6 months, And it started to really feel like a revolving door. Every time I look up, someone's gone. So like there were tons of people that I worked with. Like one day they'd be on a project and then they wouldn't. I looked at a graph that showed how many people are being hired, record numbers of people being hired into the space expanding, but then simultaneously there were just as many people leaving. So literally, like as people started to come in, people started to go. It felt like it was like identical almost. And that was something that made me uncomfortable, because I want to be somewhere where I'm walking down the hallway and it's the same people that I was in my class with. I'm walking down the hallway, it's the same partners that I've worked with 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it is. And obviously that probably comes with how many people you're hiring, how many offices you have, etc. But I wanted somewhere that felt a lot smaller and a lot more intimate, and that people weren't leaving every 5 seconds. So then that was one of the reasons. Another reason why I decided to leave is very specific to my practice group. So I'll try to keep it really high level. A lot of the deals that big private equity practice groups focus on are repeat, large sponsors that are dominating the space. And a lot of the intricacies of it all is already determined, and people just want to do things how they done it the last time. Because of that, a lot of what you're doing is just working with the same investors over and over again, negotiating the same terms over and over again. And to me, although it was still exciting now because I was still learning, I can see that in the near future, it was going to get very boring. I'll juxtapose that with the smaller fundraisers I was working on, where I completely loved the clients. They were great. I mean, yeah, I found them on LinkedIn, like they were awesome. And I realized that maybe entering into my second year, or a little bit more into my second year, maybe just a coincidence, but the people who worked on smaller fundraisers were a lot more pleasant to work with, from my opinion as well. Like their personalities were a lot more fun. On the larger fundraisers, I felt like we were all operating a lot more robotically. It was like, all that to say, my experiences on a smaller to mid fundraisers were just a lot more pleasant than my experiences on large mega funds. And because of that, I wanted to go somewhere that primarily focused on smaller clients, where, you know, you're doing the intricacies, you're doing things that aren't market, you're trying to figure these things out, you're using your brain all the time, you're working on a term sheet, that is like a little different, you're working with in-house counsel, but it's not really the same. All of that was kind of what I was seeking. Based on my interviews, based on my conversations with people at my new firm, it felt like there would be a lot more of. And so far it's been. So for the few things I've worked on, so far I definitely have had to rely on my brain over like precedent a lot more. Sorry about that. The lighting was getting a little wonky, so I just wanted to fix that. And I'm almost done anyway. Like I said, these are just a few of the reasons. Another one is that I'm moving to London. As you all know, for anyone who's actually really interested in my move, I'm moving this week. So I will be gone soon. Woo, sounds so weird to say. It's starting to feel real, but anyway, let me get back to it. So I'm moving to London. I knew I wanted to diversify my practice a little bit, but I didn't know that I wanted to make a complete jump. So when I first mentioned that I was moving to London, when I made that video, I actually had already decided that I was gonna leave. So when I saw all those comments from people at the Curve firm, like, we're gonna welcome you, I can't wait for you to get here, X, Y, and Z, I'm sorry guys, I know. Obviously I couldn't say anything because I hadn't put a notice yet, but I obviously won't be working in the London office of that firm. As a really quick aside, I actually did get clearance and I actually was gonna work in the London office for that firm. So for everyone that was like, how did that happen? How did you work that out? I just asked. That's really all it came down to. I talked to people in associate development and they told me, you know, this is considered a secondment, and sure, you can take a secondment, we just have to figure out your visa situation. So all I did was ask, and they said yes. Especially during the current climate where people are working from everywhere, I just can't see why anyone should hold off on asking for such a great opportunity if they want to do something like that. So if you're considering working in another office, just ask the right people. And you never know, they may say yes, even though this is something unconventional and what other people don't do. Like, I know people who are getting hired remotely, who are working remotely, who are jumping around from firm to firm because they want to find the perfect fit for them. And I do think this is the time to do it. Back to the original video, I wanted to diversify things a bit and I wanted to do something a little different. So I started to look at my firm's London office as well, my old firm's London office. And I wasn't seeing much difference between the old firm's London office and New York office. And I had worked with people in the London office from my old firm from the beginning. Basically, as I talked to more people in London about the two different London offices and what they know about the culture of law firms in London, you know, I got the general response all the time, like, if you want to do PE, you might want to stay put because it's a great PE firm. And then some people were just like, go for it. You might want to switch practice groups, all those kind of things. And because of that, I decided to go with a brand new office. I guess you can say, since this one is all over the place, I was seeking a new start in that sense. I wanted to start in a brand new office with brand new people, and that was something that I just wasn't gonna get if I was in my old firm's office, because I worked with some of those people already. But here, it was just like a clean slate. It felt good, like it felt awesome to work with completely new people. And a part of why I wanted to go to London, obviously, is because I don't know anyone there. So I want to have something completely new, completely different. And I felt like I wasn't being true to that experience totally if I was to start in the London office versus just starting in a completely new firm's London office. You know, happenstance that I had to start in the New York office at my new firm because of like Omicron and all that kind of stuff. But it does still feel like I have a completely fresh start, which is something that I was seeking. I'm gonna begin to wrap things up because this video is getting a bit long and I really didn't want it to be more than like 10 to 15 minutes. So I guess lastly, one of the things I was seeking was something a bit more risky. Working in PE as a Black woman at such a young age feels like I'm working in such a traditional space that I wanted to be somewhere that wasn't as traditional. Even if it wasn't a new practice group, I just wanted to be at a firm that wasn't as traditional, wasn't as like white collary, and it didn't feel as much, if that makes sense. Even if it was technically, like I'm still at a big law firm, I'm still in PE, I'm still in that kind of space. I wanted to be somewhere a bit more risky because I feel like the window of risk taking is kind of going for me. I think that the time you take risks is like when you're young, you're single, you're doing all these kind of things. That window where all those things exist is getting smaller and smaller as time goes by. And because of that, I just wanted to take a risk. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be somewhere new. And obviously I'm in a career field as a lawyer where things are a lot more risk adverse. Like, right, if I wasn't as risk adverse, I wouldn't be here. That feeling is probably what put me over the edge. I wanted to be, I don't know, someone that had practice groups that were a bit more interesting and out the box and doing things differently in that sense. So that's something I was thinking about. Those were a few of the reasons why I decided to make the jump. And I wasn't miserable, as I said, and as you probably can tell. But I did want something different, and I did want to start somewhere else. Very hard decision for me. I had built up so much social capital, and that's something I was really, really concerned about. Like, I have to delve in working super hard from the beginning again so that people understand that I'm a hard worker. Wondering about all the things that I wondered about when I was in my first few weeks in my first few months, not first few weeks, at my last firm is kind of still present in my mind now at this new firm. I just wanted to get it out and share with you guys. So I hope it was helpful, and I hope it was entertaining if it wasn't helpful. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share, and watch out for more videos.